Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the next Foreman community demo. And it's me. Yay. Hello, I'm back. Fantastic. It's great to be back. I want to start with a really big thank you to Ori for covering for me while I was away. I had a great time, chance to decompress, but it is really, really good to be back, and I'm very happy to be back doing the demos. We've got basically a chat show for you today. There's not a huge amount of technical content, but we have had quite a few events recently and more events coming up. So we're going to have a bit of a roundup of what's been happening in the community from an events perspective and also from an infrastructure perspective. And then we're going to talk about a few other bits and pieces as well. So the rough running order, I've just mentioned some releases as well to cover us. But yeah, mostly talk today. You want to see code? Come back in 2 weeks. But it's going to be good. It's going to be fine. Don't worry. So first things first, I want to get this out of the way. We had a fairly major outage this week. Most of you will probably already be aware of that. The Discourse forum went down at about 3:30 on Monday, and unfortunately was not recoverable. And due to a horrendous combination of errors, meant we lost about a week's worth of data from it. Really unfortunate. If you're interested in what happened and why it ended up the way it did, there's a huge root cause analysis, which is on the restored forum. It was unpleasant. Fortunately, quite a lot of our users used mailing list mode, so we have a copy of every single mail that was sent out. So I then painstakingly re-imported all of them. So we haven't lost anything public. What we have lost is all the metadata that goes with it. So likes, poll results, attachments, any private messages, that kind of stuff. So I do apologize. It was an unlucky and unfortunate combination of at least 3 really unlikely things all at once. But nonetheless, there were lessons to be learned, and I've posted that as well and what we're doing about it in future. So the upshot is this shouldn't happen again unless it's something even more unlikely happens. You can never say never, but you know, things have improved as a result. But we're back, and it appears to be stable. I've been monitoring it for the last couple of days, and everything seems fine. So yeah, everything's back to normal there. But again, my apologies for the outage. You can imagine I was not very happy. There was a lot of swearing. Okay, enough of that. What's happened recently? So I'm told, I've been seeing on the forum this morning that 1.17.1 is going to be very soon. I know a lot of you are waiting for that. We're making a big push to try and get that out, and there's more discussion happening about releases in general. So again, if you go and check the development board, you can see a bit more about what's happening there. Catella 3.5.2 was out recently. It's just a Zstream release, but obviously you want to get your updates in, get your bug fixes. And since I can abuse my position as being the presenter to plug my own plugins, if that's not a really bad pun, Column View and Default Host Group will shortly be out with 1.17 fixes so you can use them again. And I know a lot of people have been waiting for those. I was working on those this week, so they'll be out very soon as well. There's probably other plugin releases, but I frankly didn't go and look, so you know, sorry. but there will be others as well, so check them out. There's always stuff going on. I'll talk a little bit about infrastructure as well. So this week I finally received the keys to our new slaves at the Oregon State University Open Source Labs. So they have very, very kindly sponsored us with a reasonably generous OpenStack quota. So we're going to be bringing those online. Current discussions are what to use it for, but it looks like we're going to be moving quite a lot of our Vagrant workload there, which will free up rack space a little bit and allow us to segregate things a little bit better. So that's going to happen. And I'm also going to grab at least one machine to test a persistent workload just to make sure that's working cleanly in case we want to use it for more serious things in the future. We've also tuned up the Postgres configuration on Redmine. It's entirely qualitative, but I feel like it's faster. So tell me your experiences. It definitely feels faster to me. Big credits to Evav for that. He wrote the PR for that. As I mentioned, the Discourse backups have now been improved. We have hot snapshot support for that now. And as ever, more sponsors are welcome. If you have some hardware you can donate to the community, please do. We can use it. We've got lots of different test cases that need to be run. So I'm gonna stop talking now because you've probably heard enough from me. So I'm going to start with the Summit. So for those of you who weren't aware, Red Hat Summit is one of the big conferences of the year for us, being a Red Hat sponsored project. We have a lot of developers paid for by Red Hat, and a lot of us turn up at Summit. We have a community booth there. I wasn't there, which is why I'm going to shut up. And I'm going to let the people who were there tell us all about what happened from a community perspective. So Marek, Adam, what have you got to tell me?
All right. Yeah, so I'll start. So I was mostly there in the community area, and at the booth. So we had a lot of visitors, or I met a lot of users, I would say. Few highlights. I think the oldest, or kind of not oldest user, but the user who uses the Foreman for the longest time that I've met there was someone using Foreman since 1.7, which was around the time when I actually started. Well, I think I started working on 1.5 or something like that, but it was quite impressive. Their setup was around 14,000 of hosts, which was pretty good. Obviously, there were a lot of people who were familiar with the catalog plugin, and they had a lot of questions about the patching and content management in general. But there were also a lot of users either interested or even using a lot of plugins. I was surprised, positively surprised, that OpenSCAP plugin is quite useful, and either we had a lot of questions about that, or like people were interested in what is the current status of the integration. One interesting request for enhancement for that in particular was, today it's hard to see the diff between two ARF reports. So if you have some systems that are red and then another report comes, you don't know whether it's worse or better or anything like that. You need to go and carefully watch for all the rules, which might easily get to 1,000 rules. So that was interesting discussion, though I recommended them to use the recently added feature tailoring files, so that you never start with a red ARF report, but always start from green, and then it's easy to see just the red rules. It was also interesting to see people using Insights plugin. That's the one we don't really promote it well in our community so far. It lives in a separate repo. It's not on the under the Foreman organization on GitHub, but yeah, people found that, and some of them are using that already. We added some packaging, we added packaging support in our Foreman packaging repo, and I hope that we'll move it under the Foreman organization soon as well. And yeah, very surprisingly, there was even someone using Foreman Virtu Configure plugin, and they were really happy with that, which was the plugin I worked on recently. And I'm happy that actually someone used that. Though, if I think about what was the most common questions or most interesting plugin, that was for sure, at least from my experience, the Ansible integration. People were really happy about what they see, what we have today, especially the remote execution provider integration, or that part of the Foreman Ansible, which was really, really good. I always try to explain our limitations, like we support just some kind of playbooks, like if you have multiple plays with different set of hosts and all of that, that wouldn't work. But people who understood the technical limitations were perfectly fine with that, which was good. One also kind of thing that I've heard several times was performance concerns, mostly around either content management or remote execution. I think they were specifically talking about the planning phase of the execution itself. So might be something to look at. Yeah, the one thing, one funny story, if you will, is I was talking like 5 minutes with someone, and I didn't recognize until he actually looked at my badge and see, how isn't that Czech name or Czech surname, better to say? I said yes. So we realized after 5 minutes that we can actually switch to Czech, and yeah, we continue talking Czech. The only other thing I had in mind, since our community booth was next to guys working on AWX, or also known as Tower, we had a chat and we talked about the Ansible integration. We started to also talk about maybe it would be nice to start using the Ansible Runner, which is a project that they recently released. And yeah, it seems like that might actually help with the things we encounter in Ansible world with the callback we have in Ansible core. So we'll probably start looking at that at some point. And yeah, that's it.
Very cool. Very cool stuff. No, sorry, go on, Adam. Jump in.
Okay. For me, I was in charge, together with Sachin and Eric, of putting together the lab, or the hands-on with satellite. So what might be interesting for people in the community is that we didn't actually use a satellite build. It was built from upstream nightlies. And I must say we didn't really have to patch it all that hard. So that was awesome.
Oh man, that's a first.
And as far as the labs went, it was, from what I've heard, probably the smoothest running labs yet. So that was great as well. We didn't hit any really difficult issues, and we didn't have to fight fires all the way. So that was great. People were really happy about the lab. And of course, there were questions and things like that, but nothing negative. When I wasn't at the lab, I spent most of my time roaming around the venue and being at the community booth. So there was a lot of people coming by and asking about stuff. Some of those never heard of Foreman. Some of those never heard of Foreman, even though they were satellite users. And the same applies for Bulb. And I think Bulb was the lesser known thing. So even if people knew about Foreman, they didn't really know about Bulb. But I wasn't there all the time, so maybe David or Dennis could tell better. And overall, the summit experience was awesome for me. It was my first conference that was this large. I've only attended DEF CONF several times, but that doesn't really compare. So it took me a while on the first day to get used to all these people, because I really didn't expect it to be that massive.
You need to come to FOSDEM.
Yeah.
Then you get used to it being crowded.
So, and I would now maybe pass the word to Ori if she has something to add.
Well, with that, what Marek said about almost demoing in Czech, you could actually, Daniel did a demo in Spanish, and Dennis did a demo in Russian at the booth. So there were a variety of languages there already. It was pretty busy as usual. We have some new swag instead of t-shirts this year. Some people liked it, some people didn't. As always, I guess. Not much more to add.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. That's really, really exciting. I guess there's a lot in there. It's all just positive stuff for the most part, which is always great to hear. I heard the performance thing. I mean, we've got quite a lot of threads open right now about performance in general, right? So that's 1.17 specific issues, which I guess haven't made it down into satellite yet. But yeah, hopefully we can iron those out. But it seems like we've got some good feedback going on there on that one. But everything else just sounds amazing. 14,000 nodes, really. Wow. I think I've just been looking at my graphs actually. So I guess you'll all be really excited to hear about the community survey, which we did back in March, and I'm still processing the data, right? Because I've only just got back to work. But I have about half the graphs done. And I've got the size of installation one here somewhere. I'm just looking for it right now. It's in my inventory of SVGs. Where is it? That's not it. I think it's under hardware. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. So that would put you in the top 2% or 3% of size of installation, which is it's pretty good.
And I totally forgot, we also met with Konstantin there. He mentioned their infrastructure is about 100,000 hosts. But to be fair, I'm not sure if I got that correctly, but I think they're only using Smart Proxy without Foreman. So yeah. I don't know if that counts.
That's what I understood from what Konstantin was doing as well. But it's great that you got to meet him finally, which is really cool. So yeah, but yeah, as I understand it, he only uses the Smart Proxy as well. But yeah, because I remember a couple of years ago a massive discussion about how to handle subnets of 50,000 hosts, and the proxy was kind of like, I can't deal with this. So that was a good fun chat back then. Okay, I I don't think I've got anything else to add. Oh, I'll tell you what did occur to me, actually, and this is totally like, there's no answer to this. It's just a random thought. I actually had the opportunity or the reason to do a by hand CentOS install the other day, which is not something we do very often, right? We work on installation products. It's normally automated, but I was doing one by hand, and I noticed it does actually ask you if you want to pick an SCAP policy, like a security policy now, while you're doing the base install. So I wonder if that's part of the reason why it's actually more popular than you think, is that actually people are being introduced to this idea of security policies during the install of CentOS. So maybe more people are aware of it than we think of, because it was kind of new to me when we started doing the whole SCAP thing. But at least that way, when it asked me the question, I was like, oh, I know what that is. So yeah, so it surprised me. Is all, I guess, all I'm saying, and it's like maybe more people know about it than we think. Right. Okay. I got a couple of people wondering why we're not doing video, because I totally forgot to switch to Marek and Adam's feed while we were doing that whole segment. To be honest, you can only see half their faces anyway because they're sharing one laptop. It's like, it's really weird. Don't worry about it. You're not missing anything. So let's move on. So let's talk about another event that happened even more recently. And I actually got tweets about this one, which, you know, I don't really care about, but it was nice. So Sebastian, Tomer, you guys were in Amsterdam. What happened there?
Well, I'm gonna start. So ROSCONF is an event that a friend of mine started and asked me to help out with. It's basically a small hackathon to invite maintainers of projects, and attendees can then also start immediately contributing to it. And I think it is a good opportunity for projects, first of all, to get new contributions, and also to get new contributors. And I think Tomer can tell more about that part of the event.
Okay, so it all started with a boat ride. So we got a boat from one of the event sponsors, and Sebastian was captain. We sailed through the canals of Amsterdam, like just speakers and organizing team, which was really fun. And afterwards, we met all of the attendees for like an evening of networking and presenting all of the projects. I presented Foreman. There were some other projects as well. There was RVM, Exorcism, Homebrew. Just a second. Exorcism, Homebrew, Fusion released some Support Central, which is like a platform for managing support on various channels. And WeTransfer released the new API. So that was the first day. The next day, we had basically just a hackathon where the attendees divided into the various projects. We got 6 people interested in Foreman. And so they were, and 4 of them actually came all the way from Romania just for the event. And they were all working on one laptop, which was kind of either odd or amazing. I'm not sure yet. And we got some PRs opened on the Foreman website, fixing some developer setup issues and some layout for the developer handbook. And we got some PRs in core, some fixes, some stuff changed in React, some fixes to one of the rake tasks. Yeah, so overall, it was a really good, fun event, in my opinion.
Fantastic. That's really, really good to see. I'm really, really interested to find out if you have contacts with those new contributors. I'd love to hear about their experiences, because it's something we often forget about as experienced developers. The new user experience and the new developer experience are both quite important. I mean, really, really quickly, I'm just looking at the sort of raw data right now, but it's approximately, where is it? Let me hang on. It takes forever to scroll. What I'm doing is I'm going to the community survey, and I am trying to see. Oh, not letting me actually view the data right now. Google has just decided to block me. Oh, it's probably because I'm logged in as the wrong account or something random. Anyway, what I remember when I saw the pie chart the other day, it's about 1/3 of responses was I want to contribute, but I don't really know where to start, or I'm blocked on something. So so making those things easier is of huge benefit. They feel like paper cuts at the time, but they make a big difference. So so big thanks to those people for that. What else was I going to say? There was something else I was going to say about this as well. No, it's gone. My brain's gone dead. Fine. It'll come back to me. So yeah, so cool. Well, thank you guys so much for doing that. It's really, really exciting to see new contributors coming online like that. Speaking of things like that, we have upcoming events as well. So firstly, a change to how we run things in the Foreman community. Obviously, we implemented Discourse at the start of the year, and despite me being on leave, I've been tinkering with it and looking at it and playing with it. And one thing we've added is an events calendar to it. And I've been sort of evaluating that over the last few months, and it's my opinion that it is easier to run events there than it is to run it through the website. The main reason is that it's a bit of a barrier to entry to some people to go and find the right YAML file and send a pull request to change it, which is how you get an event onto our Foreman calendar, right? So I wasn't very happy about that. And what I like about Discourse is it's very easy to sign up for, and you probably already have if you're doing anything to do with Foreman anyway. And you only need you automatically get access to the calendar if you're trust level 2, and if you're not and you want to create an event, you can just come speak to a moderator and they'll help you out. So the barrier to creating an event is much lower. And it's actually just nicer presented anyway. It's still got all the same time zone support. It's got all the ability to add individual events or an entire calendar to your calendar via webcal links, ICS files, whatever you want. There's even an RSS feed of it if you really like. So it just feels like it's a lower barrier to entry, nicer presentation, and it's all in one place because we're all kind of hanging out on the forum anyway, whereas the website feels a lot more static. Like you don't think about, oh, I could add an event to this, right? It doesn't even occur to you. So we've moved everything to the calendar on the forum. The link is on the screen. It's just /calendar, and you can create events if you want. If you want to do a YouTube broadcast, come talk to me. We'll get you a presenter. We'll figure out a time. Otherwise, if you're organizing a meetup, if you're going to give a talk at a conference, whatever, go and add your event. Let us know it's happening. I totally want to hear about everything that's going on in the Foreman community. With that in mind, then, the next few things that are coming up, there is a meetup in Pune in India this weekend, which Rahul's put on the board. So if you're in that part of the world, go check it out. There is going to be a deep dive with John Mitch, not next week, week after, which I'm going to host that for him. And we're going to look at Foreman Maintain and have a look at that. And then the big one that's coming up is Open Source Camp, which is in June in Berlin. We've got a reasonable lineup of speakers, I would say, some pretty stellar names from the Foreman community. That is ticketed, sadly, because we have a venue, but it's the first time we've kind of done our own conference. We're partnering with Greylog. We're doing half the day each because it makes the risk, trying to find 8 speakers off the bat for your first ever conference is quite a challenge. You can do it, sure, but it's a big risk. So we decided to halve that risk, and the guys from Greylog felt the same way. So we partnered up. We stuck it on the back of OSDC, which is happening on the 12th and 13th of June. Same venue, so you can get 3 days of conference for your trip, and we're going to have 4 talks. They're going to have 4 talks. We're going to have a booth. It's going to be lots of fun. So if you're in that part of the world, or you just want to head on down, then come see us. We've got a lot of good people, including I think Sebastian's going. I haven't heard that confirmed yet.
There are rumors.
There indeed are rumors. I know Edward's going. I know. I think Timo's going to be there. I could load the agenda in my web browser, right? But I'm lazy. So go check it out, opensourcecamp.de, or just look at the event on our forum, and I think you can get to it from there as well. And there's more stuff coming up in August as well, but I'm going to publicize that once we know a little bit more about whether there's going to be a booth or not and things like that. But basically, there's going to be some kind of presence at FrostCon in Bonn in August, and that's being entirely organized by ATIX. So I'm very grateful to them, because this is kind of the first time we've really had a Foreman official. I say official because it's kind of what does official even mean when you work in a community, right? But it's the first time that Foreman will have a presence at a community that wasn't organized or instigated by Red Hat, right? So that's kind of exciting. And we're kind of feeling out what that means and how we help them out in doing that. So that's going to be fun. All right. I want to talk a little bit about community roadmap now. Since I'm back and I've been off for 5 months and a little bit of time either side because demos don't line up with that, I've been back to work for like 3 weeks already. So I want to talk a little bit about what the roadmap looks like and what's happening, what's coming up, what you're going to see. Firstly, as I said at the beginning, huge thanks to Ori for her help covering for me while I was away. She's going to be keeping some of those responsibilities. So anything to do with physical events, so the conferences we just talked about, speakers, swag, shipping things out, all of that kind of stuff. If it's in meat space, as we say, then talk to Ori. All right, she's going to cover all of that. She's got you covered. She's better at it than I am. Everything else, infrastructure, strategy, promotion, broadcasting rather than physical events, come talk to me. I'm still the community manager. So that's come and bother me because Ori's busy with other things, right? So that's how this is going to work. And I can't spell the word broadcast. Yay. Typo in my PDF. I have, of course, recovered some time from not having to handle physical events or swag. So I'm going to be using that time to do something that I keep promising to do. I've been promising for 2 and a bit years to do some proper metrics, to have a nice metrics dashboard that we can all go and look at, and we can ask questions about the health of our community. I'm going to be working on that with the time that I save from not handling events, which is reasonable because it's quite micromanaging. So I'm certainly looking at different ways to do that. Some of you will have heard of the Chaos Project, which I'm looking into. I'm learning to write things in R, so when the community survey report comes out, that will be entirely rewritten in R because it makes for much nicer graphs. Let me show you a really nice graph that I'm proud of. Oh no, I'll do it later. It's fine. You can see the report when it comes out. It'll be a couple of weeks. So that's what you can expect, basically. I'm also looking at some sort of future planning as well. So I'm talking a little bit about new contributors, as Toma was saying. I'd really like to get our mentoring page updated. But the right way to do that is to think about what our roadmap actually looks like, and that involves talking downstream as well as upstream and working out what we can put up there. We had a bit of a conversation about this in the community already, and I think Marek was part of that. I know the guys at ATIX were part of that, driving that as well, because they really want to contribute, but they don't know where to contribute or what we're thinking of looking at, right? So I think we can be better at that communication, and it might well be that the mentoring page is a good way to kind of lay out the chunks of work that we think are worth attention, because it's a little bit less formal and less structured than the bug tracker, right? It's a little bit of an easier way to just say, this is an area that's interesting, and if you're interested in it too, let's talk. So that's something I want to think about and see if we can do a little bit better. I don't want to go trying to write a formal roadmap. We did that in the past, and I don't feel that it worked very well. And I think the model we've had for the last few years is okay. It just needs a bit of refinement. So that's another thing I'm going to be looking at, and there's a whole ton of other stuff as well. So hopefully you'll see me being pretty busy, but you can always come bug me because that's what I'm here for. All right, I think that is everything I wanted to say. Does anybody else have any closing comments they want to add? Tumbleweed, fantastic. In that case, I'll close as usual. You can find us in the usual places. We are on Matrix. I think I've said that in a previous demo, but in case you weren't aware, Matrix and Freenode, we have them bridged, so you can talk to us on either of those. I personally use Matrix. I think it's fantastic. And there is, of course, our YouTube channel, as always. And other than, I'm not going to bore you with the like, subscribe crap, right, because you know about that. So that only leaves, I suppose I should check for questions in channel, right? I should do that at least once. Yeah, there aren't any questions. That's fine. I didn't think so. Right, in that case, thank you all very much for watching. The next demo will be in 2 weeks, not 3. But one of the nice side effects of moving to the event system on Discourse is I can create the demos much further out into the future now, rather than just one at a time. And so you're going to be able to plan your schedule a little bit better. But the next one's going to be in 2 weeks, because I think that coincides nicely with work that's getting finished by some of the developers, and then we'll move it back to the 3-week schedule from there. But you'll find them all on the calendar, as we were saying earlier. So go add that to your calendar, and then you won't miss any of them. Okay. Again, thanks very much for watching, and do take care.